to the channel. And it's that time of year again. Half the year is gone already, and I have waited until we are over halfway for this, just because I've got a few thoughts that kind of were still spinning in my head. But most people have already begun this the mid-year freak out tag. Now, this is quite a long tag, so bear with me. Please stay to the end if you can. There are 15 questions. This has been doing the rounds for years now. I have no idea who started it. I'm so sorry. So far, let's go over my half year. So I've been reading faster than last year, but I am a slow reader. So far I've read 26 books. They've been very, very good. Higher quality on average than last year. I'm currently averaging about a 3.8 out of 5. I do like star ratings, so I do track that kind of thing. A 3.8 out of 5, so that's really quite high. And question 1, let's get into it. The best books so far. So I have 3 books that got the exact same rating from me this year, and I haven't decided between them, but I'll go with the most recent for now, which was Taipan by James Clavell. An excellent book. If you haven't read it, I recommend this one highly. Right, number 2, the best sequel so far. I might have gone with Guards, Terry Pratchett for this one, but it's not really a true sequel. In fact, it's kind of the first book in a series of books in the Discworld. So I'm going to eliminate that one and go with a true sequel that I know would qualify, and that is The Last Argument of Kings. The book that wraps up the First Law trilogy is an excellent book for sure. Number 3, a new release I haven't read yet. So as I'm releasing this, I may already be reading Prophet of Edan, which I'm very excited to get to. Go on Amazon and get that if you're a fantasy reader, because that will be a good one, I'm sure. Number 4, most anticipated release of the second half of 2023. So other than the Prophet of Edan, the one that pops in my head is it's a biography from a person that I am super interested in, someone that I've followed for decades now, which is Jason Kingsley. He has a YouTube channel. He owns a video game publishing and comic book publishing arms, and yeah, he's a super interesting guy. I'm sure you probably already know him. He's super famous, but Jason Kingsley has a biography coming out called Leading the Rebellion. That comes out next month, and I'm so excited for that. Number 5 is The Biggest Disappointment. So this is not the worst book I've read this year. In fact, it probably doesn't make the bottom 3 so far this year, but I was super hyped for this book. I was sure it would be at least a 4.5 out of 5, but unfortunately the 11th cycle didn't really hit for me, and it was a massive time investment that I plowed through with so much desire that it didn't hit. It was quite disappointing at the time. It did sting a little, so that one would probably be my biggest disappointment. Not a bad book, but just couldn't deliver on all the promise. Number 6, my biggest surprise. I was not expecting anything big from this really, though the writing style I knew it would be something I was interested in. Prisoner of Zenda. It was a excellent adventure book. Gave me everything I wanted. I do love that Victorian writing style, and if I can get a little bit of frills and spills in there as well, which the Prisoner of Zenda does excellently. Yeah, that was a massive surprise for me this year, and one of the best books I've read this year. Number 7, a new favourite author for me this year. So that has to be James Clavell, the author of the excellent Shogun. Another contender for Book of the Year. What a great book. Fantastic author, James Clavell. Right, newest fictional crush. I'm probably a bit too old to have crushes from books, but I really did appreciate the love interest in this book here. Captain Kenneth has his love interest is a lady called Etta, and I think it's Etta, yeah. And yeah, she was a really interesting character. I think you get that feeling she's going to be a big influence on the coming books too. Yeah, and that was interesting, definitely. Right, number 9, newest favourite character. This one's really difficult. I looked at a list of characters that I've loved from this year, and I just couldn't. I'm going to go with one with a lot of promise to deliver later in the year. So I'm going to go with the High Priest Joraman from this, the Way of Edan by Philip Chase. This is a character that I'm not convinced isn't someone, if it's not Philip himself, it isn't someone very close to Philip in his life it is based on, because it is a very 3D character, and it is striking the depth of the character immediately that you meet them on the page. And I really like that. I see that a lot in Stephen King's writing and some of his characters, and that I definitely got that from High Priest Joraman. Okay, so a book that made you cry. So that transitioned quite nicely to a book. No book made me cry. I have cried at a book once. That was a long time ago. But this is a hard read in places. The complete uncut, the stand, some of the stuff that's cut in here is probably for good reason. This can be a bit of a hard read. Uncomfortable is what I would call it. Right, number 11, a book that made you happy. This is really for the pure comedy of the characters and the story. Is Guards by Terry Pratchett. You're dead inside if this doesn't raise a chuckle from you. This is a very funny book, and this definitely made me happy this year. Number 12, favourite book to movie adaptation of this year. I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, so I'm going with one from last year that I absolutely loved. Cyrano, which is based on Cyrano de Bergerac, and I'm going to turn this the right way up, which is a play, and they turned it into a musical, a fantastic musical that came out last year. If you were into musicals, this was a real sleeper hit. This did not do well at the box office, but it's fantastic. I really recommend Cyrano. Right, number 13, my favourite video of the year. Do you know what? I'm going to go with I've really been enjoying watching sci-fi videos, and I would say go and check out some of the sci-fi roundups by Outlaw Bookseller or BAFTA Books, Duncan over at Back Away from the Donkey. They had a couple of really good sci-fi wrap-ups on their channel. And last year, I probably would have leaned towards, maybe one of the wrap-ups from Josh from Red Fury Books. But this year, I've been really digging the sci-fi roundups, and they've had some excellent ones over there. Right, most beautiful book I've bought so far this year would probably go to one of the paperbacks I've been trying to find. I can't remember which shelf I put them on. Too many books, you know what I'm talking about. So I've gone with this one, which was a complete cover buy. I saw this over on MJ, Reading This Life's channel. This is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Now, this just looks like a VHS cover, and I love that, so I had to go and I actually overpaid for this, but I had to have a copy. Big floppy trade paperback, and I really like that cover. Now, number 15, the final question. Which books do you still have to read this year? So I have several series on the go. So many series still to go. Mistborn, the Adan trilogy, my Sharp books, Wheel of Time, Live Ship Traders. So much to be read. But I'm going to highlight the classics that I know that I still need to get to this year. Really important classics like Dracula. I know you can't believe I haven't read some of these books. I can't either. Dune by Frank Herbert, another big one I need to get to. And finally, the big one, The Brothers Karamazov. I want to get to all three of those by the end of the year as well. So I have a lot on my plate for the rest of the year, and hopefully those sound interesting to you and you will come back to my channel. Otherwise, hey, what books have you still got to read for the rest of the year? Put it down in the comments and we can have a little chat about them. Cheers.